Alright, so this is a suggestion via Patreon. The name of the video is 11 Unusual Car Features No One Wants Anymore. This is coming from the channel Recollection Road. Check it out. Guys, I am in fact a car guy, so we'll see if we want these. I may want a couple.
Pop-up headlights were most commonly found on sports cars, but Honda also liked to add them to their models. These headlights could flip up and down and were concealed when they were turned off. These type of lights date back to the 1930s, but vehicle light regulations changed over time. And by the 1990s, the pop-up headlight was facing extinction due to safety issues. Because of this, manufacturers phased out this light configuration, which would disappear altogether in 2004.
Yeah, guys, I can tell you right now, I don't miss these. Specifically, no problem, they're gone. They can stay gone, guys.
The appeal of automatic seatbelts is unknown, but a lot of compact cars made in the 1980s had this feature.
Okay, really quickly, I absolutely would like these to come back, though. May sound crazy, but I remember getting in some of these older vehicles, sitting down, and then the seatbelt just kind of covered you guys. I mean, that was lovely.
If you remember getting into an older Honda Civic or Honda Accord, you probably remember the seatbelts sliding back across your shoulder. The concept was that the driver and passenger would not need to remember to put on their seatbelt because the car took care of that for you.
Right.
Although intentions were good, these seatbelts required you to manually buckle the lap belt, which many people failed to do. The seatbelt motors would also often burn out.
All right, really quickly, I never knew that, so if that was a thing, oops. All right, oops. Oops.
Get stuck.
Okay, so yeah, maybe
buckling
not.
Up
Never mind.
Impossible. So by the early 1990s, this feature had been abandoned completely.
Okay, so I was basically in the car like halfway secured. I mean, I get it. Also, keep this in mind here. We have gotten a lot fatter over the years, like as a country, right? So there are people who absolutely just don't like seatbelts, obviously, because they can't really, fit into the seatbelts any longer, guys. That could be an issue, but I do think, right, bring shame back in some things. In some things. If you bring this back and people can't fit into them, then maybe it's just time to kind of shed some pounds. I get it. I'm there with you guys. I can fit in a seatbelt, right? But the point is, right, I get it.
Car buyers used to complain about their antennas getting either stolen or damaged at the car wash, so automakers decided to solve this problem by introducing power antennas. These were used on cars well into the early 2000s, and there were a lot of benefits to a power antenna. But the drawback was that the antenna became more complicated to replace or repair and could cost hundreds of dollars. Fortunately, over time, automakers figured out how to incorporate the antenna into the design of the car, and the power antenna became a thing of the past.
Yeah, I'm glad that's gone also. Okay, so a couple of these things are just, like, seriously, just everyone should kind of be happy that they're not, they're no longer functional. This is one of them.
Vent windows allowed passengers in a car to push out a little piece of triangular glass to let in some fresh air. This was an essential design feature considering most cars in the first half of the 20th century didn't have air conditioning. Even during the 1950s, air conditioning was reserved for the most luxurious cars. Vent windows showed up less and less as AC became cheaper and eventually standard in vehicles. Some of the very last vehicles to have this feature were the Ford F-150s and Dodge Rams from 1996.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't start driving until like 2006.
At the time, Landau roofs were considered the pinnacle of American luxury.
Oh.
These sometimes vinyl...
Bro, look at this. Wait, guys. Look at this car, guys. All right? No cars look like this any longer. Everything is all the same and boring. Right? This is back when cars were absolutely spectacular.
Vinyl roofs were meant to look like a convertible, and they were named after a horse-drawn carriage that came from Landau, Germany. The only problem was that these roofs would deteriorate and eventually fall apart.
Very fast.
Replacing the vinyl could be an expensive proposition and not something that many people wanted to deal with. This style of roof fell out of style by the 1990s, although occasionally you still might find a Landau roof on a new Cadillac.
Yeah, I'll
Heavily
pass on that.
influenced by the movie Smokey and the Bandit, and the fact that cell phones were non-existent. Some cars in the 1980s had the option to come with a CB radio. The CB radio made two-way communication between cars really convenient, but the fad seemed to die off pretty quickly as cell phones became universally accepted.
I'll tell you right now, I still use these CB radios and a couple of other like ham radios in my Jeeps, mostly because I'm off road a lot. I'm in the mountains a lot, and in order to speak to like the other people that are there with you, right? You kind of need a radio, more so than a cell phone, because your cell phone does not work at all unless you have a satellite phone, right? But normally in all of my Jeeps, we have full-blown radio systems like this.
CBs are still
Right
around
now.
though, and many enthusiasts, truckers, and emergency responders continue to use the device. And it seems that some reliable technologies, like CB radios, never quite go out of style.
Right.
While General Motors was responsible for creating the removable T-top roof design, many other automakers adopted it. T-tops were an iconic part of the 1970s and 1980s. The issue was that there were a lot of safety problems that T-tops had.
Okay.
The first and foremost was the structural safety of the car, which was compromised by T-tops. Then you had the leaking roofs and even damage to the T-tops caused by improper storage of the glass panels.
Oh, yeah, that sounds terrible, guys. Like, in my head, I was like, okay, yeah, maybe they did it like a Jeep, right? They basically, fixed the structural integrity of it by, like, framing it out. But apparently, no, they didn't. They just, built the body and then cut the tops. That's not very intelligent, sirs and madams. That absolutely is not intelligent at all, if that's the case. If that's how these were done. Ew.
In the end, automakers dropped this concept altogether, although GM offered them as an option on some models up until 2002.
Don't the Corvettes still have them? Some of them?
Like most features of early American cars, front bench seating was a holdover from the horse-drawn carriage, allowing for extra passengers or just to give everybody a little more room. The bench seat was a popular feature of the big American sedan. Safety regulations in the 1970s led to the bench seat declining in popularity, but they remained in many trucks. The introduction of the center console meant that many new cars simply didn't have the space. But if you were a kid in the 1970s and 80s, there is no doubt you rode around on that front bench seat. The Crown Victoria was one of the last modern sedans to offer bench seating. Other than that, bench seats in sedans were abandoned altogether.
Yeah, I don't mind that going.
As
Well-
automakers worked to improve the interior quality of their vehicles, velour seats became very
Bro, is that a Chrysler LeBaron?
popular. These seating options were meant to be more comfortable and luxurious, and they could be found in all kinds of cars, from Hondas to Cadillacs. The only problem was that these seats would make you sweat. For long summer trips, velour seating wasn't ideal. In addition to that, they also didn't hold up very well, breaking down and becoming flat within a couple years. Chrysler ended up using velour seating up until the 1990s, but for most, it was a relic left in the 1980s.
Oh, guys, this man looks distinguished. It looks like he's sitting on couch cushions. Huh.
Remember car seats that had button tufting? These were ultra-comfortable seats that made cars feel even more luxurious. This type of seating was often included on lower trim levels, which GM was notorious for doing. Chrysler was one of the last automakers to offer this in their K-car interiors. Over the
K-car.
years, button tufting became just a fad that could often be found in the lowriders that were cruising the main streets of America. Nowadays, seating is more comfortable than ever, and leather is now the go-to upholstery for the car industry.
It lasts longer than this.
The visual of a family going on vacation in a wood-paneled station wagon wasn't just in the movies. Many car models came with fake wood panels along the sides.
That old
While this
Wagoneer.
wasn't bad looking at the time, It was cheaply made, causing the paneling to fall off or disintegrate. Many different cars used this wood paneling, with Chrysler being one of the last companies to offer it on the Town & Country minivan up until 1996. Today, wood paneling looks great on vintage vehicles and is a reminder of those family road trips in the family station wagon.
I mean, this would look really nice, lowered and put on some like solid wheels, because it would look really nice. I mean, honestly, it looks really good in this state. Guys, this is just a nice looking vehicle. I'm like super like attracted to like 5-door type vehicles. If the aesthetics of them, at least.
If you enjoyed this video, click on this playlist to watch even more.
Okay.
And as always, thank you so much for watching.
All right, so the ones that we've just encountered here, I actually don't mind that they're gone. Like, all of these features can pretty much stay gone. It's fine. I think there's probably a couple more features that we should be seeing disappear soon. I was definitely hoping that they would have spoken about maybe like the car phone. I do like the idea of the car phone, like a hard line, phone you can kind of hold. I like the idea of that, but I guess we do have cell phones. But I would like to have the car to have a very specific number. Right? That's it. That would absolutely be amazing, I think, personally. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.